sweeping story. Go Pack chairman and Republican strategist David Avella and political commentator Danielle McLaughlin. All right, guys, what do you think? Number one, does this story matter to the public? And number two, did the New York Times commit a crime? I'll start with you, Danielle.
There's no evidence that the New York Times committed a crime.
I just read the statute to you. It's unlawful for any person to disclose information unauthorized regarding tax returns, and it's a felony.
Right, and as you know,
he didn't give them permission.
He did not give them permission. There's probably a statute of limitations issue here. And I can't speak for the New York Times, but I'm not convinced that there's a crime here.
Okay, Danielle, statute of limitations has nothing to do with it. They just released the information. Are you saying that they've had this for years, since 1995?
No. No, absolutely not, Judge. This was apparently given anonymously to the New York Times, as you know.
Right, and they said they just got it, so there's no statute of limitations.
Well, apparently postscript from the Trump Towers. We'll see how that shakes out.
David, first, is there a problem here for ordinary Americans, and what do you think of what the Times did?
This won't change one undecided voter's opinion, and if this is the October surprise by the Clinton campaign, we've lowered the standards on what a surprise is. There's no new information here. Donald Trump has paid his taxes. Hillary Clinton's campaign says that. The person who has committed the crime here is the anonymous person who turned it over to the New York Times. Now, you can debate whether the New York Times is complicit in this, but the person who committed the crime isn't Donald Trump for the way he paid his taxes. The person is that turned him over to the New York Times.
Right. And then there's also a question as to whether or not in publishing it, the Times is responsible. But Danielle, what are we saying here? Donald Trump was a businessman. He is allowed to take these offsets, net operating loss offsets. I mean, should he have said to the federal government, I want to pay you money, even though I don't owe you money, I want to pay you money? I mean, that's stupid, isn't it?
I think there's a difference between what is legal and what is moral. And I think American voters want to see a leader that has carried their own water. If you're going to walk the talk, you should talk the talk. Sure, he took a huge business loss, and he did not pay, it appears he didn't pay taxes for 20-odd years.
How do you know that?
Well, I'm saying there's an appearance, and many tax specialists have said there's a reason that he's not
releasing these
returns.
But no one's seen anything other than a page from the 95 return.
Right, and tax specialists, and I'm not one, have said 20 years you can basically not pay the tax because you've taken such a huge loss.
Right, you can move it forward.
Right.
David?
Tax accountants make a living off making sure Americans pay what they need to pay, but get the maximum benefits to what the current tax code says. Let me also remind everybody, Judge, Americans vote with their pockets. And that's why Americans leave high-income tax states and move to low-income tax states. It's why states like Connecticut lose population and states like Tennessee pick up population because they don't have an income tax. Americans don't have a problem with using the tax system to their advantage.
All right, David, I want to get to another question. And during the debate, one of the things that Hillary Clinton said, all of you watching tonight, to know that he's paid nothing in federal taxes because the only years anyone has ever seen were a couple of years, she was referring to 78 and 79 when he was trying to get a casino license. There's something in me that tells me she knew this was coming to the New York Times, and that's why she bumped it up in the debate. Do you think she knew, Danielle?
I don't think she knew. I don't think she knew at all. I mean, I don't think she's probably surprised because most people who are watching a candidate who gave Mitt Romney a very hard time about his tax returns, who gave President Obama a huge amount of trouble for paying only 20% of taxes in his 2008 tax return. You know, he has put this, when he's been in the peanut gallery from the sidelines, he's been throwing shells and he's been giving people who are running for president a huge amount of trouble, and it's only fair, frankly, that it comes back to him.
Well, at the end of the day, don't you think Americans are thinking to themselves, I want a smart guy, especially a guy who says, I'm going to get rid of this tax code and the absurdity of what people have to go through to understand it and to follow it?
Well, the Trump campaign has called him a genius for doing this, but let's be honest, it's his lawyers and his accountants. So anyone with money can hire the best people to do their taxes. It's ordinary working Americans who don't have those advantages, and I think people are standing up and saying, it should be good. If it's good enough for me, Donald Trump, it's good enough for you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, maybe they ought to change the tax code so they could take advantage of it. But let me ask you, David, isn't it kind of ironic that what you've got are the Democrats saying, shame on Donald Trump because he took a legal tax deduction, and they're not saying anything that she actually erased classified emails that the FBI director had to swear and say she not only lied about it, but she released and deleted our personal, I should say, public documents.
Exactly, Judge. The Clintons have decided, the Clinton campaign has decided, we have to make him look like he has used laws to his advantage just as we have, so that we're all the same. We're all in this. And the reality is she has been doing this for 30 years in government. And you point out a number of great examples. There's all the advantages she did with the Clinton Foundation, how they used that to benefit themselves. So her strategy is now is that, well, you might say he's just as bad as I am. Let's muddy this all together.
All right. And very quickly, because we got to go, another week of talking about his tax returns as opposed to the issues. Will the VP debate change it? Yes or no, Danielle?
I think it will. I think
David?
I think it will.
No.
No? Okay. Good to see you both, David Avella and Danielle McLaughlin. Thanks so much.